Hello, everyone. This is Anjla from the podcast, The Food Apothecarie, food that heals your soul. Do you have a dream job? Did you apply to your dream job? Did you have all the qualifications for your dream job, but somehow you didn't even get the interview? Why is that? Why is that happening to you? You deserve better. You know what? I recently somehow figured how. Because I got a chance to speak with Josef Stetter, a resume whisperer, as he described himself. An award-winning and international best-selling author of 11 books. Yes, you heard it right, 11. Award-winning speaker. He has helped around 11,000 people to find their dream job. And you know what his record time once to help somebody find a job was? 2 days. That's all it took. 2 days. And how did he land here? To let you a little bit more about Josef, he has switched his career 9 times. He has experience in almost every single little field. He can help you find your job. He can help you to make your resume look better. And I had the pleasure to speak to Josef on this podcast. We have dissected the resume into pieces. We have talked about what kind of experience is okay, what kind of qualities are good, what can you put in a resume, how long it takes a recruiter and employer actually look at your resume and say like yes and no file. If you want to know how to get a best resume and how to find your dream job, please listen to the podcast episode that's coming with Josef Stetter. So, hello, how are you?
Excellent.
No worries. How are you, Josef?
I'm excellent. Thank you. Can't complain. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you taking time, even though I know you're in pain, to be able to this podcast. I know that earlier in our call, we talked about multiple things, but
Yep.
we're going to only try to squeeze as much as we could in 30 minutes. Okay. So since you have worked with so many different companies, so many different corporates, and you have helped so many people to find jobs, what is the take from corporate side about layoffs?
So, look, I think that layoffs are part of the routine right now. The pandemic proved that you don't necessarily need to be in the office to be productive. We have become a society where money comes first above all else. And so, if the numbers aren't as high as expectation, in order for the higher levels to kind of maintain their bonus or maintain their status, layoffs are inevitable. The question becomes more is, are you seeing it as an opportunity to get something better and stronger, or are you kind of attached to what am I going to do now? Oh my God, it's the end of the world. Any business is there to make money. What you hold true or what are your values can change over time, but that's what will define if you're great or not. And for most people, I've been laid off a few times. It's not fun. It's a little scary because we don't like change, but it's part of life.
Yes, that's right. So technically, it's just totally business.
Look, it can be political as well, but it is business from a perspective of justifying certain costs or justifying certain numbers. So let's say after 9/11, the company I was working for at the time tried to, I guess, unofficially switch me to other departments. But in the conversations, I was like, no, I don't want to work in those departments. So I was one of the 1,500 people that were downsized eventually, because there was 3 rounds of downsizing based on the hit from 9/11 and business stopping and trades happening and so forth. I think it was a blessing to me that I was downsized because that allowed me to go into recruiting. That allowed me to go into kind of other avenues and explore things that I enjoy more, reinventing myself and having that energy of, okay, this is new, this is exciting, as opposed to, I know the routine, I'm bored, but it pays the bills. So I think that's part of the equation or the math, that downsizing is a company decision based on where their costs are right now and can they justify it. Unfortunately, we're also in an economy or a society or generation, whatever you want to call it, that it's a me environment. Are you really making a business decision, or are you downsizing because it will affect the individual wanting to be rewarded, for example, right? But in the grand scheme of things, it is a business decision. It is a unfortunate part of business. It's not the nicest part, but it's nonetheless part of the business cycle, because if you're not innovating, if you're not finding new solutions, you get kind of caught in, whoa, people are surpassing us, people aren't interested, and people aren't changing it. And so this is where some industries, no matter how hard you try, it is what it is. It's not going to change simply because of and the economic conditions say you're in an industry where these are the big boys. They control 90% of the market, and you're competing for 1%, you're competing for 2%. And if you're not getting that 1%, then downsizing is inevitable.
Wow. Yeah, I totally get it. By the end of the day, sometimes you have to cut your losses.
Correct.
Yes. Another thing you said, you took it as an opportunity and you made a totally different career after being laid off.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody is laid off. What kind of resume, or let's say what kind of profile they should have when they want to go back, let's say, to the same industry but a different company?
So here's the thing, and I'll call it the 5 biggest mistakes that most people make on a resume. Number 1, they use Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri as a font. Those are the default fonts on Microsoft Word. And so what happens is, and then the second mistake is that they use the black dots, the squares, or the hyphens as their bullets, right? So you get lost in the sea of sameness, because one job posting on Indeed, for example, will get between 350 and 5,000 applicants. Most companies look at the first 100, and it's literally 8 seconds to 30 seconds that they're reading your resume. So if something catches their attention in the first third to the first half of your resume, they'll put you in the yes file. But if you have a black and white cookie cutter resume with the same font, the same bullets, the same layout as everybody else, that's kind of the third mistake, is everybody has the same layout of the resume. There's nothing different. So unless you work for really renowned companies, nobody sees who you are, right? Now, the fourth mistake is that people on their resume write, I have 10 years of experience, and then they write what I call fluffy information, like I'm hardworking, dedicated, committed team player with excellent communication skills. In 20 years of recruiting, I've never once looked for a resume that's had those words. And very few people go to an interview and say, listen, I'm lazy, I'll show up late, none of my work will be any good, and I really hate people, please hire me. Not unless you're related to somebody in the company or having an affair with them. And you have to understand that, Anjla, that your definition of hardworking and my definition of hardworking could be very different. That's the same between companies and between industries. So if I compare, for example, accountants that during tax season have to work 80 hours a week. So what's hardworking? 100. And if I compare that to a nurse who's working, let's say at the height of the pandemic, 4 hours of overtime because there was a shortage of nurses or they didn't arrive, does that mean that the nurse that's only working 4 or 5 hours of overtime is less hardworking than the accountant? No, it's just there's different levels of stress for each job. So it is redundant to say that you're a hardworking, dedicated, committed team player and with excellent communication skills, because unless you give an example that's specific, I don't know how you're measuring that. I can look at communication skills and say, I teach communication to people, but compared to somebody like Les Brown, who has made $100 million as a motivational speaker, I don't have excellent communication skills because I haven't made $100 million. But I teach elements of speaking correctly and interviewing correctly. So there is, what do you measure it on? And here's where, if you've ever seen the movie Legally Blonde, when Elle Woods or Reese Witherspoon applies both to Harvard as well as to the internship, she gives a pink scented resume.
Yes.
And everyone looks at it and goes, it's pink and it's scented, but they remember it. Now, I'm not saying you need a pink scented resume, but even to change your headings and your favorite color, to change your bullets, if you go to the bullet icon on Microsoft Word, you can get diamonds, you can get like a check mark or something that's a little bit unique than the black circle all the time, right? Changing your font from Times New Roman or Arial to one of the like Cambria, it's still a pretty font, but it's noticeable, it's subtle, it's noticeable. And the biggest mistake of all is that people say, I know how to do this and I have experience with that. Okay. Instead of quantifying the results and the significance of their work that they did. So I'm going to use 2 examples here. So If let's say you're applying to be a receptionist, Angela, and you come to a company and say, I know how to answer the phone. I hope the company looks at you in shock and goes, really? A receptionist that knows how to answer the phone? We did not know that. Because unless you live in an igloo, a cave, or choose to practice the faith where you don't believe in technology, most people on earth know how to press a green button, go, hello, how can I help you? Okay. If you come and say, in my last job, I answered 60 calls a day with 12 different lines, I can measure 60 calls a day with 12 different lines. I cannot measure, I know how to answer the phone. Now, if I use an example from my career, I can tell you, Angela, I'm a phenomenal salesperson. I know how to do B2B, B2C, account management, relationship building, lead generations. I've done retail sales, door to door sales, car sales. I've worked in recruitment. I've worked in private education. I know how to do sales. I've given you a lot of lingo, but I haven't told you whether or not I know how to sell. Now, if I give you a real life example where I worked for a private college that before I came in generated $530,000 for the entire year. In 1 month, I generated $860,000 in sales for them, right? So $860,000 in sales in 1 month is a holy smokes, and tell me how you did it to prove that I know how to sell. But once I do that, there is. I know that you mentioned that when we spoke that you're an accountant right now. So as an accountant, if you tell me that you know how to do general ledger reconciliation and how to do income statement and a balance sheet, right? I'd like to meet one accountant in the world that does not know how to do that, right? Because that's the first thing you learn is the balance sheet and the income statement. And so telling me that you know how to do those statements is useless information to me. What I need to know is how good are you at it? So were you able to find ways of doing things more efficiently, to automate certain of your tasks, to have more accuracy in the reporting, to do a reconciliation of, let's say, 10,000 accounts in 3 days? I don't care that you know how to do reconciliation. I want to know how good you are at doing reconciliation. That's what matters to me. And that's what most people that are downsized and then spend 6 months or a year looking for a job get stuck and don't get hired. It's because they're kind of going, I know how to do balance sheets. I know how to do reconciliation. I don't understand why I can't get a job. I'm really hardworking and dedicated and committed. I like to compare it to this and that. Angela, if a guy came to you and was like this, I'm high, I'm high, Angela, I'm high, can I get your number? What are his chances?
0.
0. Now, I'm going to say slim. The reason I'm going to say slim to none is because you might be very physically attractive and you'll at least try to give them a chance to speak to you, right? If you come to a job and go, please, 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 please give me a job. I'm really hardworking. One of two things will happen. One, they won't hire you because you don't have confidence in yourself, right? And so they don't want somebody who doesn't have any confidence. Or two, they know you're desperate. So they'll pay you nothing, meaning like they'll pay you minimum wage, but they'll give you a job.
Okay.
And that's why so many people get lost or stuck is because they come with, please, 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 I'm hardworking. I'm dedicated. I love my job. I work really hard. But that doesn't tell me that you're good at it. That doesn't tell me that you can produce results. And if I hear that, you're desperate. So from a business mindset, it's like, okay, you're cheaper because you'll take whatever I give you. But when you come and say, listen, I work for this company, I can handle a reconciliation of 10,000 files in 3 days. I was able to automate 5 different things that increase efficiency in the accounting department by 22%, right? Then they're listening to you as someone that's going to produce results for them, as someone that's going to think outside the box and look for solutions to be better. And because of that, they'll pay you what you're worth, if not more.
Wow. Okay. Make a standout resume. Don't be generic.
Yes, avoid the cookie cutter models, avoid the cookie cutter answer. Like be original, have some personality, even in what you wear. So women can get away with a lot more because everything is fashionable technically. But like me, my favorite color is purple. If you look anything up on social media, anything with my name on it, I'm usually wearing purple. There's purple on all my branding. So even when I go to networking, even if somebody doesn't remember my name, I'm the guy with the purple kind of thing, right? Now, so for men, choose a color, a hat, a tie. You can do like a silly tie because it's a conversation starter. For women, there's a lot more flexibility in how you brand yourself. You can have particular earrings, you can have a necklace, you can have a brooch, you can have a scarf, you can have particular shoes that are unique or stylish. You can do your hair a certain way. You can, particular rings that are unique. Right? So there's a lot more available, but don't just come, hi, I'm looking for a job, hi. There. That's the worst thing you can do. And again, if you don't exude confidence, people will listen to that and look and go, sorry, I want somebody who I'm not going to feel like I need to explain everything to them to do the work. I want someone that can come in and I can go, here's the work that needs to be done. And they go do it and they produce results.
And you mentioned like generic strengths, like I'm hardworking and all that.
Mhm.
So how important is the pitch that you put it in the resume? Let's say I saw some resumes that has like pitch on the left-hand side on the top that explain like in my previous job, like I have this much of experience. It's kind of like summarize their resume.
Summary is good, but you have to understand, I'm going to use it this way. If you're lucky enough to be in a relationship, when you come home from work, do you come and say to your partner, I did my job today? Like, yeah, you might have a few days like that. But more often than not, when you come and say, today I had to deal with this huge problem because, let's say, using your career Anjla, as an accountant, the numbers weren't adding up. And I had to trace back 4 months to figure out where the error is. And I'm so excited because I figured it out. And now everything balances. And I'm so happy that I did that. That's what you need on your resume, not I know how to do this, for example. So the stories that you tell your partner, whether it's on your resume or an interview, but understand that the resume is not designed to say everything that you've ever done. The resume is supposed to be kind of, oh, this is interesting. I have a question about this, but enough that I know what you did. So if you quantify in your resume the work that you do, I don't need to guess how good you are. I can kind of leverage that by kind of going, okay, you're doing a reconciliation of 10,000 files, let's say, right, in 3 days. Okay. So can you explain the process that you use to reconcile in 3 days, for example? And so that is the measure of the quality of the work versus how to reconcile. Right. So even for the skill, like, again, no one's going to hire you ever because you use the words hardworking, dedicated, committed, team player, excellent communication skills, interpersonal skills, and so forth, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not hiring you for those skills. Like, it's expected, and the standard of each company is different, right? So this is where culture comes into effect. So again, if I'll use an example, like, let's say engineering or construction. Engineering construction is not a 9 to 5 job. Everybody that works in the field knows that there is some overtime required. There's a difference between doing, let's say, 5 hours of overtime and doing 40 hours of overtime when your employer is like, you have to do all these hours of overtime. So this is where there's also a balance of how good you are. If you're an engineer, let's say, working on bridges, and you can find a way to make the bridge stronger and, let's say, use different materials that are cheaper, you're a great engineer. But if you're doing an engineering job and you can't figure how to make things better, why are you an engineer? And so there is a level where it's more of the overall, here's what makes me unique. Here's what makes me different. So if I tell you jokes and you're not laughing at any of my jokes, and you're listening, I'm not funny. If I take the same jokes and I tell it to 20 other people and they're in tears laughing for my joke, to them, I'm hysterical, right? And it's no different in the job market because if you present, here's the results I produce, and here's the process or the proof, the way that I did it, for example, and the company goes, I like this, great, you're on the right track. If the company goes, we're not sure if that's the way we want to do it, that's part of life. You're not going to be perfect for every company, even though you think that based on the job description, you are a good fit. But there might be specific things that it's the same thing. Like, again, we've become an online world for a lot of things. Just because you swipe left or swipe right doesn't mean that after one chat, you're going to get married. I would assume that in most cases, you're going to meet the person. You're going to try to have a few conversations. You're going to see if your value systems are aligned. You're going to see if the sense of humor is aligned. You're going to see if the interests are aligned. You're going to see if there's attraction to each other. So it's no different in a job, with the exception of a few professions like a brain surgeon. Like if you're a great brain surgeon, nobody cares about your personality. You could be the most egotistical, obnoxious human being on earth. But if your surgeries are that good, nobody cares, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the surgeries that matter. But 97% of work out there, it's more the personality fit than it is, do you know all the technical, right? And that's where I said the technical skills can be taught. The personalities, the work ethic, you either have it or you don't. And that's the reality. So I've been in companies where, like, as a recruiter, I can say to you, if one of my candidates had 60% of the expectations of the job description, I would consider them a good candidate and I would present them to my clients.
Wow.
Because the reason being, because again, if it's a technical thing, for the most part, I'm not going to make the decision just on one software. No, don't get me wrong. I do have clients sometimes that are very picky and want every software to be mentioned and every experience to be mentioned. And it's kind of a needle on a haystack. But even for some companies will say, don't apply if you don't have at least 5 years experience. I tell everybody apply. You never know. Like the five, they might prefer that, but you might have 1 year of experience and you have such great experience that will overset the 5 years. Or you need this much education. Again, like if I have the choice between somebody to fix my computer who's been working for 20, 25 years, or somebody that has 25 designations, I'd rather take the person that's been working for 20, 25 years than the 25 designation, because the 25 designations potentially is theory.
Yes.
25 years of experience, you've done it.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where, like, my IT guy, he doesn't have a ton of designations, but his work experience that he has had, and he's found solutions to fix some of the stuff that I needed fixing, that I was just like, I'll take you over the designations any day, because designations are not going to teach you that. It's the same thing. There's a very famous story slash joke where there's a ship that's broken and all the engineers are trying to figure it out and they can't figure it out. And after they spend 3 months trying to figure it out, they finally call a guy who's been fixing ships for 30 years. And he comes and he knocks on the ship here, he knocks on the ship here, he knocks on the ship here. He goes to his toolkit, grabs a hammer, and the engine starts working on the ship. And he sends an invoice for $10,000.
Yes.
And the VP looks at him and goes, $10,000? You were here for 5 minutes. Can you give me a detailed breakdown of how you're invoicing me $10,000? And the expert responds with $2 for hammer, $9,998 to know where to hit the hammer.
Exactly. Experience.
Right. So yes, and this is where sometimes you have organizations have this mindset of, okay, younger is cheaper and more education, like they have more education, but they don't necessarily have experience. I know that my father, God rest his soul, he works for a real estate developer that was doing a project of converting 15 buildings into condos. And his title was director of operations. And when he passed, the company decided they want to save some money on his level of salary and hired a project manager to be director of operations that within 3 months was like, I can't handle 16 buildings. I don't know how this person did this. I can handle one, maybe two. So instead of paying my dad's salary, which was kind of closer to the 200,000, they paid this person 120, and then they ended up hiring 7, 8 people to replace my father. So instead of spending $200,000 for one person that knows what they're doing, they ended up spending 800 to 850,000 to get 7 that were newer and had more education but less experience. So in the grand scheme of the company, did you really save money? No, you lost $600,000 because you had to hire so many extra people. And you're seeing this a lot right now with the first question you asked me about downsizing, is that a lot of people that are very experienced are losing their job because their salary is very high. And then, younger are coming in for cheaper, but they don't know what they're doing. So you end up spending more because the quality control is not there. because the expertise is not there, because the standards have been lowered and lowered and lowered. So that's where the education is great and we need education. But on the other hand, experience will always try.
We are almost coming to the end of our time. I'm going to ask you one really relevant question nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is it critical in recruitment?
So look, AI is creating opportunities to automate certain things to be able to produce more. So here's the thing. I can use AI to message individuals, let's say on LinkedIn, to try and get response. At the end of the day, if I compare the AI tools to me personalized a message and wordsmithing a message specifically for individuals, my response rate is much higher when it's more personalized than kind of the AI tool, right? Don't get me wrong, the AI can help me eliminate some of the overlaps in the candidates that unfortunately we're also in a society where nobody seems to read anymore. Like I posted a while back, and this is why I stopped posting jobs, a job description for a Python React developer. And I wrote like this big in red, in bold, first sentence of job description, must have 5 years of experience in Python and React. Okay. And then the rest of the job description was the normal size 10 or 12 or whatever with the regular bullets. I got 140 resumes of people going, I'm graduating in 2022 or 2023. Can my first job be $140,000 Python React developer? And I'm like, okay, if you can't read this big says must have, because my clients were like, no, there's no answers about it. We need 5 years, kind of thing, right? Then so as much as I appreciate people that are proactive and I encourage that and I support that, if somebody hasn't had 5 years officially, but has been doing it on their own and can go, here's the projects I've developed on my own over the past 5 years, I will still look at them. It's not necessarily job experience because there's a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs and try to create a side hustle and build a platform or an idea or an AI or whatever the case may be. So I respect the experience. But if I say to you, I have to have this experience, and you're not even bothering to read big, bold red letters that are there, that says something about the applicants too, because all the applicants do is read the title and go, oh, I'm perfect for this job. I'll send the resume. And they don't read, let's say, what's required. So AI is allowing for certain matching. Now, AI also has a lot of room to grow in a sense that, unfortunately, and this is fortunately for me, majority of people around the world have cookie cutter resumes and that look exactly the same. Their LinkedIn is very generic cookie cutter. Like it says, I work here. Here's my job title. I've worked here for 5 years. It doesn't really say what you do. It doesn't really say the results that you produce. It doesn't say any of the things that I've mentioned before. So AI can only capture information based on the information that's available. So if you filled your resume with hardworking, dedicated, committed team player, excellent communication skills, and you didn't fill your resume with technical words associated, let's say for you being an accountant, Anjla, meaning accounting, accountant, financial statements, general ledger, balance sheet, income statement, those words, AI can't score you anyhow. And until we shift from this generic cookie cutter model, there's only so much AI can do. Right now, AI can capture, let's say, these are the companies that are in the industry. And based on that, reach out to you. AI can match if your profile has those technical words, a matching based on how many times technical words appear and how often they appear on your resume and where they appear. But again, there's a long way to go because this is why I teach people. I have a program called Land Your Dream Job Now that allows people to get hired in as little as 2 days in their dream job. And part of that is breaking the monotony and breaking this model that we've been taught for the past 35 years that you should fill your resume with fluffy, hardworking, dedicated, committed team player, excellent communication skills. That is never going to get you hired because that's not the reason I'm hiring you. I'm hiring you. If you're an accountant, I'm hiring you because you are going to do certain things in accounting better than other people. Not because I have an empty chair and it looks weird that I have an empty chair beside in my office. So until we get to the level where people know how to market themselves correctly and how to show, here's how great I am at what I do, AI is going to be a great tool to at least eliminate 1,000 candidates that are useless to me.
Okay.
And that's where there's a difference where AI can help get rid and kind of go, okay, this person's not in the right country. This person doesn't have the right words. This person doesn't have this much experience. And we can eliminate those candidates from the process.
Okay. Okay. Great, great. I know you help people to find their
Yes.
dream jobs, and I have read your bio. It's really amazing what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Like in the future, if I need to, I'm going to consult you for sure. But for our listeners, would you mind explaining once again about your packages and all that?
So you can find me, Josef Stetter, anywhere on social media. That's pretty consistent there. So I've created a program that basically is 8 modules. I've personally invested 25,000 hours to mastering everything there is to know about job finding. And I've done the homework for people. So for example, I've given people 15 templates of resumes that I have used that have helped people get hired in as little as 2 days. Cover letters. Not only that, but I explain the psychology of the resume. Then there is the interview, how to interview correctly. There's 7 rules to a perfect interview. And I explain to you the psychology. I explain to you we'll call it the system to answer the interview question correctly. But I've done it in a way that I've given you the skeleton and you can add the meat and the spices, right? But as long as you follow the skeleton, you will be very, very successful. I've given people a list of the top 350 employment agencies in the US and the top 300 employment agencies in Canada. So it's not like you don't know which agencies exist. You do. And I explain how to work with recruiters correctly so that they're excited about working with you because they'll make commissions placing you. I've given you the top 300 job boards in the US and the top 250 job boards in Canada. So some companies will go, everybody uses Indeed because that's a default right now because they're the biggest. So if you used Wow Jobs or All Star Jobs or Toronto Job Shop, for example, which are smaller websites, companies are more likely to interview you from those sites than from Indeed because Indeed is just kind of a default. And it's again, the sea of sameness. I teach you how to network correctly, what to wear, what to say, how to follow up, where to network. I actually gave you a list of here's 50 places, the minimum that you can start that are always going to be valuable in terms of networking. And then from there, how to negotiate salary, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile, how to think outside the box and create, very unique approaches to finding a job, like sending a box of donuts to the department that you want to work with, to resume inside the box, for example. It's not being done anymore. And those are the things that Napoleon Hill, when he wrote Think and Grow Rich, when he talks about going the extra mile, we've stopped doing a lot of those things. And so it's kind of bringing back that here's what's going to get you noticed. Here's what's going to get you hired. And I guarantee results. So the only way you fail in my system is if you're lazy and you don't do the work. But I've done all the research for you. So it's not like you have to go and go, oh my God, which agency should I use? It's listed for you. Everything is there. All you have to do is just kind of do a little bit of effort and you'll get hired. Like I said, the fastest I've gotten somebody hired in their field is 2 days, and that's actually 30 people. I've helped over 11,000 people and written now 10, 11 books on the subject matter. So there's a level where I've put in the time and effort to kind of go, I know this works and I know it's going to make a difference in your life.
Okay. So we will link your social media accounts and your website in our episode 2. So this way people
Perfect.
can find you. But yeah, there are so many more things I would like to talk, but I would love if you can come back to the show and then we can
I would be honored. Just say when and where, and I'd be honored to come back.
This was the episode with Josef Stetter. How did you like it? I'm pretty sure you have made some notes. If you haven't, you can always rewind back and write down every little thing he mentioned. What to look for in a resume, how to make your perfect resume, and how to go for your dream job. And if you ever need any help with your resume, he has mentioned his website, which will be linked. And he has also mentioned that his fees is not that expensive, everybody can afford it, and he has a hand-holding procedure until you find your dream job. So it's totally your choice. If you want to have a better job, go ahead. It's in your hand. If you think you have qualification, you have every little thing required, but somehow you're behind, go ahead, talk to Josef Stetter. Thank you so much. And this is all from the podcast, The Food Apothecary. Food that heals your soul.